Hi, and welcome back to Share Your Truth. This topic we will be discussing generational curses. I'm Bridget Marie.
I'm Raquel.
I'm Jasmine.
Candace B.
Mika Means.
I'm Triana.
Okay, so with generational curses, this is something that's really big to me. It's something that I've been intentional on wanting to break and even identifying. And also, really quick, it's also something that helped me realize that I'm not yet ready to have kids, only because I'm still focused on trying to break certain things in my family so that I won't pass them on to my children and those that come after me and them. So generational curses is real, first and foremost, and it's so important for us to recognize them, for me to recognize them, so that I can, like I said, stop them. And it's such a battle, because I believe it's just something that's embedded within your family for so long, and it just gets passed on. It gets passed on to me, where now that thing is natural. It's something that's easy to do. It's something that I've always seen, so I'm comfortable in doing it, and yet I know, like, I'm bigger than this, or I don't have to do this. You feel me? Yet I don't know how to get out of it. So I say it's like a true battle. But it's something that I want to continue to work on. Because, I mean, I have generational curses with food, with health, I should say, with relationships, how to handle myself in a relationship. And it's just, like I said, things that I do not want to continue to pass down to my kids without me at least trying to check it, without me at least trying to wrap my hands around it and really control it, because they're detrimental. You feel me? And I think the first thing is recognizing them and doing something about it.
That's true. I really agree. Generational curses for me, recognizing it. And it's something that, like you said, is repeated, and it's something that we grew as we got older, that we just take upon. Like, this is how I grew up.
Yeah.
And I'm more of the rebel in my family, to where, not that I intentionally do things different, but I question. Like, I always be like, who, like, for example, your granny might buy, your great-grandmother probably bought all these seasonings, and then your mama bought all those seasonings. And then I bought all those seasonings. But then I'm the type of person that will probably go down the aisle and be like, oh, I want to try this. You might use a certain toothpaste from just soaps in general. I'm the type that would try something. Like, I would come over to Kale's house and I'd be like, oh, I ain't never seen that soap before. I'm going to use it. Like, I try different things and I make things suitable for me. So I've always been the rebel of my family, to where I would probably check my grandmother. If she was to say something to my kids or make my kids do something that she made her kids do, I would check her. And people be like, you would check your I would dead ass check her. My kids can't fight each other. I don't raise my kids to fight each other. But my grandmother did, and my aunties and my mom, they fight each other to this day. Like, they literally, like, go in and go hard fighting. But that was because my grandmother allowed them to fight. And to me, I feel like that's where you went wrong at. It's not no fighting. I'm beating y'all both. Everybody getting a whooping. It ain't no fighting each other. So certain things that my grandmother did and that she still try to implement today, I check it. My kids don't drink soda. And they be looking at me like, your kids don't. No, I don't buy sodas. My kids don't drink sodas. Don't get me wrong, if they go over your house and it's a soda there, they gonna drink the soda.
That's right.
You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they have never had a soda, but what I'm saying is, just because we at a park or a party, they don't need to be grabbing a soda every time they thirsty. Get a water. You get what I'm saying? But that wasn't how we was raised. We was raised to grab a soda. But I just don't raise my kids that way. So it's pretty much just understanding and knowing, like, and being open. I am a free thinker. I am a person that freely thinks, and I would most definitely want to try it if Trayana say that it worked for it. I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna try that. You know, I'm not the type of person that just continue to stick in my ways. even with my mom and the way that she chooses to live her life and the way I do it totally opposite. Not saying that my kids is going to come out any better. Not saying that my kids is going to be better than me or whatever, but I'm choosing to do it different. You get what I'm saying? And that's all a choice, and that's all just kind of pretty much just holding yourself accountable, you know, and realizing and recognizing things that you know that's in your family that you could easily kind of slip into. Like gambling was big in my family. Like everybody gambled, you know. I won't go to the casino because guess what? I might just get addicted to gambling. You get what I'm saying? So I just do things, and I be intentional. Like, no, my grandpa used to be asleep at the casino. We had to go look for him. So that might be running my blood to where I can't even touch on it. I don't play with drugs because drugs was something that continued to be. I don't play with drugs. I don't play with me with drugs. I get serious. You get what I'm saying? So you have to be really intentional when it comes to generational curses. Is just knowing how you want to live your life and changing.
The first time I ever heard about generational curses was when we went to very first encounter with Bethel, and I was ignorant to generational curses. Never heard of it, never nothing. And one of the things that God brought to my spirit was the men in my family on my mom's side, they either go to jail or they die. So like when I looked after every generation, it's like both of my granny husbands dead and gone, her son dead and gone, my cousins in jail, craziness. And so I started praying about it. But now that I look back, it's like I don't think nobody realized it was a generational curse. It was just like, you know, we do things this way. Like Mika was saying, this is just the way our family do it. Like, it's the neighborhood we grow up in, it's whatever. But if you can pinpoint what the enemy is trying to suck from your family, then you know how to pray. So I literally started praying for the men in my family, that they would know their worth, that they would, you know, finish school, that they would not be in gangs and selling drugs and things like that. Now, not to say that they may not go to jail ever, but saying you can't have them. Like I saw, like he was stripping them away. He still has his hand on them. But one of my cousins who was in jail for 28 years, he just got released. Oh, thank you, Jesus. He just got released like 2 weeks ago, and that was by surprise. But he was the only one in prison that because he had like 30 to life, and they let him go.
They must have passed one of those laws or something.
Yeah. So, but my point is that I intentionally started praying. And I believe that when we start identifying it and then we start calling it out, it's like saying, you can't have that. Like, I want that back. And because if I have a son, like, no, you're not going to take my son. You're not going to take his life. Because that's literally taking his life, period. Either it's death or jail. That's life.
Right.
So that was something that I recognized. And I'm sure there's other things too. But that right there, I was like, oh, no.
But you know what you also have to be intentional on? People forcing you to be the way that they are. Like right now I'm battling with that with Navy and his dad and his family, how they are raised. Like they raised a certain way and they trying to push it on to me. And I had to check myself, like, you not about to let them guide you or your baby down the path that they are known to do. You get what I'm saying? And everything is weird when it's something out of the when it's something different. It's weird. One of their cousins, baby, don't eat meat. Never gave him meat. Nothing. And then when they saying it, they like, girl, her baby don't even eat meat. She don't let the baby. And I'm like, oh, that's tight. I'm thinking it's tight. But to them, they like, I'm like, he might live till he's 300. Like, he don't even need, like, he don't even like me. He's like 3 or 4. But he don't even like me because he's never had it. But they're training him up that way. And I feel that is dope. I feel that it's tight. But they like, what he gonna eat? I'm like, he got rice, he has beans, he has salads, he has fruit. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, and I think that is so dope. Like, just the fact that they're raising him like that. You get what I'm saying? And they think it's weird. And to me, it's like, people would kind of make you go down those paths because it's weird. You know what I'm saying? Or that's what they know to do, so they like, you know, it's just unnormal. So they just feel like it shouldn't be done like that because this how. And then you know how people be like, well, my granny did. I don't care what your granny did.
No, that's the same way
That's
with my brother and our mom's son do a lot of the things. And my mom's like, well, y'all came out just fine, and I
And
just
you
got
like,
y'all.
did we?
But it's
Look
just
at
like,
me.
Look at me.
but it's being strong and like, okay, I understand you did that for us, but we're trying to do a different path, and you need to respect that.
Yes.
But when people are so used to doing the same old thing, and then you introduce something new, they do call it weird, or why you gotta do that? Why you gotta do that?
It's
Well,
extra.
you gotta be firm and
Yeah.
say, well, you know what? Be willing to try something new. They don't gotta eat me all.
Yeah,
the
and
time.
then you have to always. Sometimes you have to explain. He don't eat meat, and I ain't. That's
It's a
it.
certain facial expression.
You gotta give it to him like it's one of them kids. If he don't
done.
eat meat, we ain't gonna talk about it. It's not a fucking point. It's not a fucking point. You know what I'm saying? And that's true because they will really like try to make you. And generational curses is that deep. That's how deep it is to where you will be questioning yourself. Like, am I doing it right? So you feel uncomfortable. You might not have the confidence in the area to do it to where you might end up, you get what I'm saying? Like how some people let their kids throw up gang signs. And it's like, didn't your brother, sister, cousin, they all dead or in jail, but you letting your son continue this path?
Yeah.
For the life of me, I don't get it. I don't get it.
When you don't know another way, it's hard to.
It is. I was gonna say with generational curses, it's like to break a generational curse is like you have a road right here, but you have nothing right here. But as you walk, the steps appear. That's what it feels like to me to break a generational curse, because you really have to trust God. You really have to be disciplined, and you really have to fight the laziness of just going backwards. But every step you take, you get more confidence in it. You do. You gotta know what you're doing. Because for me, when I first had my baby, I'm like, oh, she not gonna have soda. I don't want her to have no soda. She's not having soda. She's not having soda. Go on and just pass her the soda. She ain't having this. Because, you know, I'm not the only one that, she number, like, I think Kyra is like number 9 out of all the grandkids. So, what makes Raquel think that she about to have a baby and they ain't gonna have no soda and juice with the rest of these babies?
But as the years go on, like now, my granny be like, "Your kid's asking for a soda." Like, you know, she'll say like, "Is it okay?" Like she'll ask.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So it's something that, and don't get me wrong, I never was the one, and I think this is what do it. When you try to be like stern, like don't give my baby no soda. She can't, you know, like pressing the issue. I never really pressed the issue. I just used to always like correct it when they was doing it. Like, no, he don't need no soda, give him a water. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was not like I was like, my kids don't drink soda.
No,
my kids
I start
like,
because
they start like,
and she ain't eating table food till the doctor say.
Yeah.
At 2 months old, 4th of July, Kyra got ribs all in her mouth.
Yeah.
At 2 months old.
At 2 months old. Why y'all giving the baby a rib, got her holding it and everything? But it's like, my family is very strong. Everybody is strong-willed. So if you weak on a topic or you ain't really standing full firm on it, you gonna crack. So I did, but it's not like she dying because she eating the soda. But I just use that as an example because there are a lot of generational curses in my family. And my family, I would say my family is really open and honest with the generational curses. I spoke on addiction before, and my family, my grandmother on my mom's side was an alcoholic for over 40-some years. So she'll keep it 100 with you. She'll sit down and talk to you like, you know, this is what it was, J and B, it was this and that, and you know what I'm saying? And because we're open about it, I would say it's not keeping certain people out of addiction, but I think it's catching a whole lot of people that would have went silently into addiction. And we're able to see the signs, and we're able to be honest with each other on this is how I'm feeling. And me, I don't play with drugs because of that. But a lot of other like financial issues. My grandma told me one day, she was like, I noticed you needed to borrow some money. And I don't want to, because I asked her for some money. And she said, you know, I noticed you needed to borrow some money. And, you know, you really don't ask me for nothing, but I'm just, you know, and I don't mind. If Granny got it, I'm going to give it to you. But, you know, let's just sit down real quick. Because I found myself living paycheck to paycheck. If I know I had $600 and I was getting paid again on the 12th, I made sure that all of that $600 was gone on the 11th because I knew the 12th was coming. I was going to get $600. She was like, I would live paycheck to paycheck, and then I thought about it,
and then I would get the payday loan. Or like my grandma was just keeping the 100 with me, and I was like, dang, let me think about that. How do I do that? You know what I'm saying? If I know that I'm gonna get paid the next day, I'm using all that money because I know. Shut up. I know.
I never even thought about it like that. Like, make sure this is gone.
No, not make sure that it's gone, but dog, I mean, I know it's
You got something coming. You got something coming.
Okay, I'm about to get paid.
I'm about to buy something from Colorblind. What's happening?
Okay.
You know you got a check coming.
Because I know I got a check coming tomorrow. She was like, but it's the mindset that you have. It's the financial mindset that you have. And she was like, sometimes, like putting stuff up and putting money to the side, that wasn't a thought pattern of mine. She was like, so I just want to make sure that's not what you get into. And when I started thinking about my spending habits, I was like, sometimes I do be doing that. So I had to like check that, and I still be doing that sometimes. Not spending it just to spend it because I know I'm getting money tomorrow, but just my spending habits. So she talked to me about that. And like a lot of the generational curses we have in our family make us move different. And so I be talking with my mom because my mom lives out of fear. Sorry, Mom. But anyway, my mom lives out of fear of things that happen to us. The women in our family, it's a certain generational curse that we have dealt with. So when it comes to our kids, we don't play with our kids. You could be the nicest person. You could be whoever. You can't take them overnight. You can't take them by yourself. You can't do that. We don't really trust men like that. So because of that, I had to tell my mom, like, do it generational curses that you can't allow the enemy to block you by fear. And you can't move through fear like this is going to happen to my child. For instance, I used to get burnt all the time. I can't just go through a situation and be like, I'm going to get burnt today. You know what I mean? I got to go through the situation and say, let me just stay away from certain stuff. But I can't live in fear. You know what I'm saying? So when those generational curses arise, you have to pray over your children and protect your children. But so often with generational curses, people are like, that's just what happened. Like, it happened to me. Like, when it comes to rape and molestation, some parents be like, well, it happened to me, they're going to be all right. No, it's not.
The same.
Everybody is not built the same. But with that, we move different in certain areas. So it's important for you to know if that happened to you. And because we are honest family, especially on my mama's side, we're able to pinpoint generational curses and we're able to cut them out. And so things do slip through, but when you start paying attention and being honest at what's reoccurring and what's going on, then you're able to hit the generational curses. On my father's side, it's dissension and division. And we all at each other's throat, and it's going on again. Like, it's like every generation we be tight, and then the older you get, you start having kids, then people break off. So we know that's a generational curse. So we are praying, but then flesh get in there. And then your own attitude get in there, and your feelings get in there, and then backbiting comes into the play. And it's like it's like somebody dropped the whole bomb in our family. We done had over 8 deaths, and everybody is just like, I'm just not rocking with them. I'll rock with you, but I ain't rocking with them. So when it comes to stuff like that, it's like somebody got to be a prayer warrior in the family. Somebody got to be a person that's just like, you know what, we're gonna put it to the side or we not. Let's just put this on chill for a moment, right? And then with my mom's side, telling my family business. It's dissension against mom and mom, like mom and daughter. So me and my mom be rocking, and then we get into it. So now it's just like, okay, God, like, am I gonna allow me to be in dissension and division with my mom until I get 40, and then everything gonna be cool? Or I'm gonna wait till she gone and then we gonna be cool? Or am I gonna work on it now? And me and my mom and my grandma, we all sat there and talked about it. Like, this is something that continues to happen. And the enemy puts that division and that dissension so we can't communicate, and it's lack of communication. But the love is there, the respect is there, but I just can't stand you sometimes, and you irritate me. And I refuse to have that with my daughter. And even now I see it, like, she get little attitudes, and I'll be like, oh my God, is this what my mama felt towards me? But it's like, you can't have her, Satan. So with generational curses, you gotta be direct. You can't sleep. Because in normal life, it's like, okay, we live in normal life, but it's like, it's not a normal life because you live in a different life. You're living life by the Spirit, and you really got to cut these generational curses at it. So you can't just be like, oh yeah, this is normal, I'm gonna just let this slide. So it's like an everyday thing, an everyday process.
I think for me, mine is very similar to Treyana's. The one that I can think of that, to me, I pray over because I do have 2 sons is jail. Is the penitentiary, and because it's like county, and then it's like real jail. So right, it's like prison, and all of my dad's siblings, there's 4 of them. Each one of them had a child in the prison system for long periods of time. And I do not want that to, and it's been, and it's like, God, please, and the way that like society is now, the police is like on the African American young dudes. I'm like, God, help me cover them the way that I'm supposed to, so that they will never step a foot. And because I knew this topic was coming, I had to really pray, like really, like God, like never let them step foot into a penitentiary unless they're going to like a little museum and they see a prison. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's the only way. Don't let them do it. Like help them think better. Help them make better decisions. Like help us as their parents, as their family, as their village, guide them the way so that they don't feel that, so that they never enter that, because that is crazy to me. Like that is
when they go to jail, is it a certain pattern? Like, do they all go to jail for the same thing?
It's not the same things, and some of them wasn't there on their account, but they got long stints, like 25 to life. And one came home like maybe 3 to 5 years ago, and he was supposed to be in there for life. And he went. It's my cousin, but he went with another one of our cousins that's still in there. You know, and they did the same. They was together when they did it or whatever. And then my other cousin, he went, and I want to say it was carjacking, but it was still like 17 years. It's long stints. It's not like small 2 year, 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like God, like help. Make better decisions. You know what I'm saying?
Like for jail, to me, like with generational curses, with that, it is generational curses, but I feel like it's generational curses because it's a lack of knowledge. Like people don't talk to their kids and tell them certain things to get them there. So like, and it be your environment. You get what I'm saying? Like we come from the hood, so it's like, you know what comes in the territory of that, but then sometimes they don't come from it, and they still
like my brother
like goes into it, and you like
come from. I mean, we ain't like the hood like what you talking about.
Yeah.
To where it's like you, like my brother,
y'all got
grass.
Wait a minute.
This period.
Wait, what is it? 2 stories, bro.
2 stories.
And it's not an apartment.
No, I'm saying like that. It's just they made a bad decision.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not even like I was in the wrong place at the wrong. I made a bad decision. I made a decision on impulse. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think about that this is not only going to affect me, but this is going to affect everybody who got to come see you, come visit you, write you, talk to you on the phone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is one of my brothers, like, literally, but this happened maybe right after high school. I literally had to see him change to somebody else. Like, it was like a slave moment. I'm in the courtroom, like, crap, they like, get her out of here. Take her out. You know what I'm saying? You don't understand how that affects, and the generational curse affects other people. Like, we do not, when we're doing stuff, like when I do stuff now, I have to think about my babies. I have to think, like today, I went into Burlington, and I'm like, I was about to go up on a girl. My baby is sitting right there in the stroller. I had to think, don't go off. You gotta suppress your feelings right now, because if I have to fight somebody right now, and my child is, what's gonna happen? Even though my sister was right there, but I have to think.
Right.
I can't go off impulse no more. You know what I'm saying? So that's the type of
And
stuff
I tell my
about.
kids all the time, like I reiterate, it is easy to get in trouble and it is hard to get out of it.
Facts.
I reiterate that. You touch it and you know that it's not supposed to be touched, you might have to suffer a large consequence from that one touch.
Real smart.
So that's something that I continue to pour into my kids. It's easy to get into it, and it's hard to get on up out of it. Trust me.
And in association.
Yeah.
It means
Just who you
association
associate with, who you carry, how
Real
you carry
quick.
yourself, everything. And as black men, we have to be real cautious. we have to really be, you know what I'm saying? Like certain things, like my son with the haircut. I'm like, that's the little thought cut. You know what I'm saying? Everybody
Look like everybody out there,
you know.
pulling
So
him
now
in.
you probably don't even look 13. You know what I'm saying? You really looking 18, 19, because the 19 is no distinguishing of the haircut and the styles no more. You get what I'm saying? So I'm like trying to guide him and just teaching him certain things. Like you can't, you know, you 13 now. You can't go over here. You can't. And I'm teaching him about colors and everything. Like you can't wear that over here. He be like, what? Looking crazy.
What you said earlier about just being able to talk about it, because it is a lack of knowledge where we can't slip through the holes. Just even dealing with my mother and my grandmother, my mom would always say like, man, because my grandmother like dealt with anxiety and pretty heavy to where it's like medicine, and then my mother dealt with anxiety, but my grandmother did not talk to my mom about it at all until my mom was well grown, well dealing with it on her own, and then they found out that they was like on the same type of thing, right? And my mom was like, why you never talk to me about it? You know, like, and I feel that that's something where we do slip in a hole with that. So my mom does a pretty good job with being open and honest about certain things. And I ask a lot of questions too. So I make them talk about stuff, and I see like, okay, I want to make sure I don't fall down that path. And then even when me and my mom do get into it at times, and she say stuff like, you just like your daddy, right? You do this just like your daddy. And I pay attention to stuff like that. She could be saying stuff out of anger and all that, but I pay attention to that because I'm like, okay, you know, if he did that and I'm doing it, it's maybe something that's just being passed down. Let me try to check that. And so that's all I want to say. Like, communication is very key with that. And if your parents are not as open, you have to be willing to ask them questions. Because maybe it's hard for them to talk about it because nobody talked to them about it.
And that's what I was going to say to you earlier when you were saying that you don't want to have kids right now because you feel like it's just certain things that you're not ready. But I also feel like you are intentional of knowing it. And I don't feel like you would probably ever be ready to give, you know what I'm saying, certain things. And then when you do have kids, you do move differently when you intentional of generational curses. Like, I was intentional of like me being abused. I don't hit my kids. My kids probably can't tell you that I hit them. And people like, but I don't have bad children. You get what I'm saying? I don't have bad kids. So, but I wasn't bad. But I was getting abused for my mama personal reasons. Now I could easily be like, beat my kids and be like, well, that's what my mama did.
Right.
And make that an excuse. You get what I'm saying? But I'm not. Because I know that it's far more, you know what I'm saying? It's different ways of doing things. Like, it's just, I feel like you are intentional. And I'm not saying go pop out the baby, but what I'm saying is like, you know, your weight don't have to be that you feel like you're not strong enough. Because kids do give you strength. Kids give you a whole nother ball that you didn't even know you had.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, just being intentional.
Let me say this, and you guys can help me on this. Because one of my main things, and I always talk about this going with celibacy, and it's not so much I'm doing it because, it's in the Bible and you know, it's holy and all that. It's not for that. It's just like a personal thing for myself and for my growth. And then since I haven't conquered it and I'm extremely weak in that area, I feel like it's something that I do want to teach my daughter about self-worth, knowing yourself, knowing that you don't necessarily have to give yourself away to anybody, right? And I just feel like since I haven't necessarily conquered that, how then can I teach it? And I'm not going to be on her like, you better not have sex until you get, or you better wait until you married. I'm not going to be on her like that, but I want to at least pour into her where she's able to make a solid decision.
And let her know what your weaknesses were. Just like how your grandmother was supposed to talk to your mother about her weaknesses with anxiety. So it's not really that you mastered it. It's just you being open to your kids, telling them what you battle with and what you don't want them to battle with. Because now that I have battled with it, you feel me? I've done it. I don't want you to go down that same path. You get what I'm saying? So you don't have to. You're not going to probably master it ever. Don't mean that you can't teach me or tell me something or give me your insight with it. But I could probably learn from your battle.
That's what I was gonna say. The best advice comes from someone who battles with it. Sometimes you don't overcome it, but you have just enough of the ingredients to unlock her situation. And from a person, I was celibate for 8 years, and I fell off the wagon hard. So for my daughter, I rolled, and then I got scrapes and bruises and lost one of my toes. So one of the biggest reasons I felt, because what's the word? What is it called when you out of wedlock? What is it called? Anyway, fornication. Because of fornication is why I fell so hard, because I wasn't using my mind. I wasn't thinking with the right mind. And so for that, I was just like, I'm going to just shut it down, be a mom, and really pay attention. And so for 8 years, I stayed and paid attention, had this shut off. I wasn't thinking with this at all. So falling off the wagon, I'm like, dang, like now my mind is a little jumbled, just a little bit. But I was able in that moment to figure out, okay, why am I doing this? What do I need to tell her about this? And now it's a little guilt that come with it, because I'm like, how am I going to teach her that? But I do know that you are starting off with a clean slate. That's something you can tell your kid. You starting off with a clean slate. Don't even open this can of worms, because I know from experience, once the can of worms is open, you will compromise your worth. You will make certain decisions based on that, because you're not thinking all the way clearly. There are things called soul ties. You can tell her from that area of experience. You don't have to all the way conquer it to be able to pour into your child and let your child know, hey, I ain't never been hit by a car, but I know that if you walk while it's a green light, you're going to get hit.
Period. And I think I feel like generational curses comes and starts from lack of communication, of not telling your kids, or don't want to expose them too early, or when is it a fine time, and when is, because you could probably feel like it's not the right time, but
it's now.
It's now. And you probably feel like, nah, probably when you're 15, but 15 is too late.
Nah.
But you also gotta know, identify it. If you can't identify it, you don't know that it's a generational curse, because that's something that I'm struggling and battling right now with my mom. She has a deep-rooted issue, and it's just like nobody wants to talk about it. It's swept under the rug. And it's kind of like what Kels was saying, I admire that your family is open about stuff, because when you open about stuff, you expose things that need to be worked on. You know what to pray for. But when it's not exposed and nobody don't want to talk about it, it's like you fighting it by yourself. And that's what I'm doing with my mom and her mom, because of something that they swept under the rug and they still have not talked to this day. So it's like, okay, God, I know what the issue is. I know where it's rooted from. How do I do this? And it's like, how do I talk to my mom about it? How do I talk to her mom about it? Because
those are things, that is the generation that trickle down to you. And what you have to focus on is your kids.
Right.
Like so you can't focus on who's behind you. You have to focus on who's in front of you.
And I
would say that's still important.
That it is super
important because it still trickles down.
Yeah, it trickles
and
down.
Her kids
like it can stop at me, right? Because I know what it is.
Well, that's the reason.
Yeah.
Because I'm in your space. I'm not even about to be around you if I do not agree with how you live. Yeah. Period. I'm not living with my mama. I would never live with my granny. I would never live with nobody that I do not agree with what my kids is going to go through. Period. And I'm cutting it off. Because at this point, I can't change you. I can't change my mama. I could pray for you, but I have to separate myself from you, from the whole family. I go around the family, but not like that, because I don't like the things that y'all do.
But because generational curses is spiritual, right? And you think of it as a cracked door. Like if the door is cracked just enough for the enemy to seep in, it could skip me, my child, and hit my grandchild.
Right.
And that's what
it's not that Nyla's kids have ever been exposed to it from my family. It could be somebody else outside that the enemy uses to expose the generational curse, because it's a spiritual thing. So it doesn't have to it doesn't necessarily have to come from my mom, or, you know what I'm saying, from the grandparent to the child. The enemy is so savvy. He's so savvy that he will set it up to where you don't even know where it came from, because it's not that I have my Nyla around and Nyla don't know nothing about it. Nyla kids should know nothing about it, but that's how it's more of a spiritual thing. So that's the tricky part.
That's the spiritual battle.
That's
that
what we
warfare right
learned. That's what we learned, because we were having a conversation and my grandma, it just hit my grandma, and she was like, my great grandma was telling my grandmother, who told my mama, and my mama was like, I don't want to hear that. This is how I'm going to do. I'm going to move over here because I don't want to hear that. And she was like, we didn't really go over there, but they didn't really tell us what was present over there. And then she said, when I got older, I realized that this is what was going on there, and my mother didn't want me around that. She was like, but I didn't know that till I was fully grown and the cousins is talking. You know what I'm saying?
Because there was a lack of communication.
A lack of communication.
That's what, because I don't feel that it's
no, what I'm
spiritual.
saying is what she did was escape from it, but it still ended up happening because it's a generational curse.
Because there was a lack of communication, and it was a lack of them hiding.
Mm.
It was a lack of communication, and it was a lack of them not trying to expose them to it, like sweeping it under.
Yeah,
the
but she
rug.
had no dealings with that person, but the situation still happened.
Because it was a lack of communication.
Right.
Because they hid it from her. Now, if it was something that they told her, she would have been knowledgeable about it and been aware of it. Because I don't agree that it's spiritual. I don't agree that generational curses is spiritual, because that's just like eating. If I'm teaching my kid how to eat certain things, they're going to be on a track of eating certain things. Not saying that they not going to drink a soda, but they're not going to be interested that much into a soda, because that's just what I introduced them to. Now, I just don't feel that it's a spiritual thing, because I feel like they could be broken, and I feel like they could, and by the way you practice it and the way that you mold it, is the way that it could be broken. Like sweeping it up under the rug and not having communication and things of that nature feeds into it. And you not exposing the kid to certain things, they will want to touch it because you didn't ever tell them that it was hot. So them doing that, it's like I said, like the reason why her kids will probably get into it, because they're still in the home of the mother and the grandmother. So it's easy for them to be able to get what they, you feel me? But at the end of the day, it's like, if you separate yourself from the mother and the grandmother and teach your kids their own paths, like introducing them to new things, like I said, seasonings and whatever, it's still, but also communicating with them that this is not the proper way. So I don't feel that I personally do not feel that it's spiritual. I feel that it's something that's a lack of communication and not being knowledgeable about what's the real rooted problem.
For the spirit part is what I'm saying, like when that situation occurred, or when that situation happened, it opened up the door for those spirits to come in and then take that situation and blow it up like maybe 10 times bigger, to where now it's trickling down because this person didn't deal with it or talk about it as they should have, and it's trickling down to generation to generation. So for me, that's where it comes in spiritual, because it's also like I gotta fight in the spirit. It's not physical. It's not physical fighting. It's spiritual fighting. I'm warring in the spirit, because everything happens spirit first before it hits the physical. So that's where, for me, that's where it come in spiritual, and God showed me.
But you still battling it, because you're saying that they're sweeping it under the rug.
Yeah, because they're not.
It's still a lack of communication.
Right? No, it's definitely
so
a lack
that's
of
where,
communication.
like, you could, if it was something that they talk about and bring it up from under the rug, you wouldn't be having a battle with your spirit.
That's true.
Part of it is what you're saying, Mika, but there's a spiritual, to know that the enemy, we know that there's an enemy that has his own way of working. And that's just a part that he taps into, and he knows that there's a cracked door.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you can be raised and know right from wrong, but it does not mean that the enemy won't dangle that thing in front of you.
Right.
And because whether it's communicated or not, the enemy knows that could be a weak spot, because it's embedded in the
generational or behavior. So you don't believe in generational behavior either, because there are certain people that my daughter has never met in her life that she has the behavior of.
Like, I do, but I don't feel like with the generational curses, like a curse is like something like somebody being molested. You know, that's somebody, a man molesting a kid, and then he molested other one. Like, you know, that right there to me is a curse. Now, certain things that, I might hold my toes like my daddy. or I might hold my feet like my great grandfather, or I might talk like somebody that I've never
Be
met.
sure to anger like a grandma.
Yeah, exactly. Now that I could agree with, like just having different traits of certain things, but I don't feel like a curse is something that somebody put into the family, and the family has to work its way into getting it out. Like as far as, you know, how my grandmother let the kids fight. And that comes from communication. That comes from me not having a pink elephant in the room. That comes from us kind of pretty much talking about it. That comes from us basically like you said, it's open in your family. Y'all open, and the communication is open. So you guys is kind of like catching them. You might not catch everybody, but you catching them because the communication is there. Everybody know that there was this in the family. Everybody know that it's this. When it comes to like, you know, people sweeping it up under the rug, I feel like that's lack of communication. I feel like they're not telling or talking to other people or the kids below them, so that they could know when it's dangled in their face not to touch it. That's like drug addiction. It could be dangled in your face.
The part is, how did it get there?
The person that's cursed. Like for instance, a man will probably introduce your grandmother to drugs. Most women get on drugs because of a guy, because of a man. Your grandmother get introduced to drugs because of your grandfather. Your grandfather was the curse. Your grandfather is the one who introduced your grandmother to the drugs. Now your grandmother ain't talking to your mama about it, steady lying, saying she ain't on drugs, but clearly her movement showed that she was on drugs. Now the daughter is on drugs. Now the daughter is moving the same way that the mother was moving and lying and saying she not on drugs, but you clearly see that there is drugs being used. Now the daughter is on drugs because ain't nobody talking and telling the truth about using drugs. Nobody is there saying, your grandpa gave me the stick, and ever since that nigga gave me the stick, I've been on the stick. Don't take no stick from nobody. Don't smoke nothing from nobody. Don't do it. Don't drink after nobody. That's how I feel like curses is being brought in. And it's just certain things that's not just being talked about.
But there's a spirit.
It's the spirit behind
It's a
it.
spirit
attached to all of that.
To what? Not talking about
Because
it?
even if you talk about it, Mika, even if you talk about it, some people are susceptible to it. I could tell you all day, and like I said, it helped me not touch drugs. But some of the people in my generation,
no, I'm not
they
saying.
did not.
I feel like it is a lack of communication.
I know what she's
You know,
saying.
more to it. Like I feel like it's more to it. Not of course, like talking about it. Of course, like it might help me. You telling me, but then I might gotta like show her. I gotta show her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or I probably have to do things different for certain people. But I feel like it's just something that's like with her situation, I don't feel like it's something that she like it's a battle, because it's clearly being swept up under the rug. Take it from under the fucking rug.
That's the battle. Because when I'm trying to taking it up under the rug for it to be talked about, so we can expose it. Because nobody wants to piece about it. But at the same,
that's her exposing it to her kids. Like I don't have to pull it up under the rug for mama and granny. I'm pulling it up under the rug for my
And
kids.
that's how you stop.
No, right. No, right. I get that part. Like I'm covering my kids. I know the area to pray for with my kids, but it's also like I want my family to be saved from that thing that they're hiding, because they don't know like it's spiritual. It's spirit behind it, or they don't want to acknowledge that it is. And my mom is suffering because of this, but nobody wants to talk about it. So it's like, y'all don't want to save her? Y'all don't want to try to help her out?
Because it's something it started with whoever started, and it don't even have to be her grandmother. It could have been further back than that. You know what I'm saying? This is just what her natural eyes can see her grandmother, right? So say if it did start, and say if they did have lack of communication, that meets your part, right? But in her part is spirit. Her part, where she gotta come from, is spirit. She can't do nothing physically because they don't want to talk about it, right? So that X's out the physical. So now I gotta go spiritual. Whatever it is that was on my grandmother, that trickled down to my mother, that trickled down to me, I don't want it to trickle down to my daughter. I don't want it to trickle down to her daughter. I don't want it to trickle down to her daughter. Do you get what I'm saying? I want it to stop now. So whatever spirits, because it's a spirit thing. It's something that came in that I can't see, that I can't talk about, right? That's why it's not only physical. I ain't saying that it's not. We're not saying that it's not that it's not physical. Okay, so we want to meet you where you at. We want to meet you where you at physical, but we do want to say that it's spiritual. It gotta be, because everything starts in the spirit first. Everything. Before it hits you physically, before you can see it, it's in the spirit realm. Satan brings a spirit on me, taps me. I don't know how to get rid of it, so it taps my daughter. She don't know how to get rid of it, so it taps her daughter. Sorry, I just do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how it trickles down spiritually. That's why it's called a curse.
And I'm trying to think of what the
my
scripture
thing is, my question
The one
is,
that's 7 times 7.
No, it says the sins of the father
Yes,
will be the
that
sins
one.
of the son,
Yes.
and it trickles down
Yes.
because we not just living spiritually. We're not just living on a plane by ourselves. There are things that I do that fall on my children because I'm selfish and I feel like this is what I want to do, so I'm gonna do it anyway. So the enemy comes in me and trickles down to my children because I've opened that door. So it's doors that we open.
okay, so my question is this. If she's fully aware of that there's something being swept under the rug, she's fully aware of that. And she know whatever it is from there. So you're saying that by her being fully aware, it could trickle down to her daughter?
If she don't,
If she don't cover it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like I get it. I get the whole spiritual thing because I'm not really deep into the spirit like y'all are, but I'm getting there. You feel me? I'm getting there. But to me, I feel like with the spirit, she's fully aware of it. She's fully aware of being anointed. She's fully aware of being spiritual. She's fully aware that there is something being swept under the rug that needs to be talked about. She's fully aware of that.
But
so
if she talk about it with her daughter, does it stop?
That's what y'all was saying about.
Who knows? Talk about it. Like do something different.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why it's spiritual. Because even if I do talk about it, that doesn't nip it in the bud.
But you would never know.
No,
You would know if you don't talk about it and you don't communicate with it.
I'm not saying don't
Chances
talk
are
about it.
Could be, but it's like I said earlier, like my kids might not turn out that way.
Right.
They might not, but I'm gonna try it this way.
Yeah, by acknowledging
it, by talking about it, by plugging it, and that's how. And I'm gonna pray about it, and I'm gonna continue to kind of move forward. But I cannot sit here and say, don't talk about it. I'm gonna keep it under the rug, and I'm not gonna say nothing because Granny and Mama did that. I'm gonna do it the same way because she's fully aware. No. So is it because you do not know. We do not know what our kids is going to do when we get older. We don't know if it's going to touch them.
Right.
But it's up to us to do things differently to see if it works. So if you're fully aware, my question is if you're fully aware of what's going on and what the situation is, you got to focus on your children and it not trickling down to hers, even though you do not know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try this anyway.
Yeah, we agree with that.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, we agree with that.
100%. But I think what switched it a little bit.
I think my husband's mad. Did y'all catch it?
I think what switched it is when I said that it could skip me, my daughter, and it can hit my grandchild.
Yeah, because she got confused. Because
even if she's focusing on that, like Kels gave that example, it could skip generations.
Yeah.
And it don't mean that there's a
She can leave. Like what my mom dealing with, it's not only.
You can leave your mom technically in the spiritual realm. You can leave your mom and your grandma where they are. Okay.
Right.
However, she moved her daughter and her grandma somewhere. But if she doesn't pray, not only just communicating, but don't pray against that thing intentionally. But we're talking about families that don't even know that it's there.
Right.
Like if she's able to identify it, right? But if you're talking about a family that has no clue that it's there, you can separate yourself from the situation, but you don't know what the hell you're praying for. You don't even know that the thing is still traveling with you.
So
She do. But I was saying, for the example that I was saying, it can skip generations. Like I see some things, and like little cousins that aunties and stuff that had, like we were saying, like then died and stuff, right? However, and they never met, but like Kels was saying, there's some traits that you like, and it be stuff, because it could be good stuff, and it could be, we talking about the stuff that ain't so good, right? But it could be good stuff or bad stuff, but yeah, Jesus, Lord Jesus.
We're not canceling
No, you making a lot of sense.
You
Kim.
are
Absolutely.
I was just trying to figure out, why is it that you can't,
But don't skip that spiritual
Say,
part.
raise
because
everybody
that-
at the top. We're
I'm
gonna deal with the bottom.
working on these. Y'all really not my issue. Y'all.
But she might need to know it. You need to know it so it can.
It is because I don't want it to trickle down. If I only start with me right now and then my kid, I want it to stop. I want to nip it in the bud. I don't just want it to only not be on my kids. I don't want it to be on their grandkids. I don't want it to be on my cousins.
But how would you?
Spirit in the spirit, praying in the
That's
spirit.
it. That's it.
That's
Spirit
it.
and praying.
Yeah.
So do y'all know any families that ever been cured
But from general.
of generational curses?
That's why I just gave y'all my praise
All of
before.
us
I
is
believe
present
all
with
the
our
men in
kids,
my
thank
family.
God. Ain't none of us left. None of the people in my generation had to leave their kids. None of them are on no type of addiction to where they had to leave their kids, leave their job or nothing. We all moving forward with our kids.
And my family ain't in
And that's
jail.
because y'all open.
Right.
Yeah.
Y'all
to be
having
open.
communication. Y'all knowing how to, you know what I'm saying?
But they got prayer warriors in their family
Right.
too,
Yeah.
though.
And
You act like we got all stars. What if it's all stars?
No, it only takes.
No, the way you
give
said they got
one-
prayer words like we cheating.
Yeah.
She like, cause they
No,
got.
Yeah,
but
my
I want
granny
to make
cracked
the
for
point
sure.
where they attacking it in the spiritual realm
Yeah.
as well.
My granny was on them knees daily and nightly. Like, let this stop right here with my kids. I don't
So,
want this to
because
go
your
no
question
further.
was like, do we know any successes? And
Yeah.
you can claim one, but then also put in a point where it was people on their knees, and that's where that success came from. I mean, because we could have just talked about it, you feel me, where they have those interventions. We can intervene all day, but if ain't nobody praying, if ain't nobody attacking it in the spiritual realm, then it's just going to be talks.
this is Share Your Truth.